This week, Nintendo finally released a brand new Nintendo Direct for the first time in 53 years. People were very excited, as people on the internet often are when Nintendo release a new Direct, but this time felt a little different, probably because this was the first time in like a year and a half that they did a proper Direct, not a mini Direct or a partner Direct. So fan speculation on Twitter was wild, way wilder than it normally is. People were genuinely thinking that we'd see a new F-Zero. You know that it's been way too long since Nintendo revealed any information when people think we're going to see the return of F-Zero. So anyway, I just wanted to provide some loose thoughts about the Nintendo Direct from the 17th of February 2021. So in general, I thought this Direct was pretty good. Not great. There's been better Directs, but there's also been far worse ones. Again, I think that gap between this and the last time Nintendo gave us a Direct of this caliber and size has been so long, it was really easy to expect way too much from the company. This wasn't an E3 presentation, they'll be holding off a lot of their bigger reveals for the summer, but as just a standard Direct, I thought it had that nice mix of kind of expected reveals and some unexpected surprises. There was a lot here to be excited for. It was nice and varied, and it only covered the first 6 months of the year, so hopefully that summer E3 Direct is going to feel much more exciting. Honestly, I think my only disappointment was that there wasn't enough Zelda news. It's the series' 35th anniversary. I would have really expected a bit more Zelda news, but maybe we'll get that later in the year. Maybe we'll even get a dedicated Zelda Direct, you never know. And maybe at E3 we'll finally see that Metroid Prime trilogy on Switch that's never going to come out. One other thing I think is I'd like to see Nintendo take some more risks this generation. It really feels like they're playing it super safe with the Switch. There was a lot of remakes and re-releases, and I know that everyone always wants remakes and re-releases, but I don't know, I just think Nintendo are at their best when they're taking risks, when they're giving Luigi a vacuum cleaner and telling him to suck up ghosts. A lot of this was playing it pretty safe, but we never know. Nintendo might have some huge surprises lined up for us later in the year. And also, let's face it, they did reveal something pretty surprising in this Direct, which we'll get to later in the video. So anyway, let's run through everything that was talked about in the Direct that I have something to say about. There's a few bits and pieces I won't be talking about, things like that DC superhero game that looked like licensed wank. But other than that, I think I'm going to be covering the majority of the highlights of the show. So let's start off with that Smash Ultimate reveal. It was Pyra and Mythra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Now, I haven't played Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I know they're meant to be pretty good, but 100-hour JRPGs aren't really my jam. I'm about 25 hours into Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it's taken me 3 months to get to that point. The thought of playing a 100-hour JRPG fills me with dread. I just don't think I have the patience or the time. But I really liked how this character was revealed. I really enjoyed how it really just looked like a standard trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles. I was surprised by how dull the trailer was up until she revealed that it was a Smash trailer. It was just full of bad British accents and really boring cutscenes, and it looked like a trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles, but it was fun. They did a really good job of capturing the marketing material for that game and playing on how dull and long-winded the trailers were for that game. The accents were so bad though. Like, why does that main character have such an awful British accent? There was a bit in the trailer where he went, I wrote this down, this is how much it bothered me.
That's genius! You're pretty much owning them, and these are seasoned fighters!
What is who? But Pyra and Mythra look pretty fun. I'm not against anime sword fighting characters in Smash. I like playing as them, and I don't really need to have an affiliation with a character to fully enjoy them. Yes, I do kind of wish it was Crash Bandicoot or Sora from Kingdom Hearts or someone recognisable. It is just fun, isn't it, when there's this big third-party reveal for Smash Brothers. But the developers of Xenoblade, Monolith, are owned by Nintendo. So the fact that there's only one Xenoblade character represented in Smash Brothers kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. So having another character from that series in Smash, smart move. Yeah, good for them. I'm more than happy with that. I'm sure a lot of people got angry. There's so many cool characters in Smash. I'm more than happy to give Pyra and Mythra, I have to look at my notes to say those names, a try. Next we had Fall Guys, which is coming to the Switch over the summer. It's also coming to Xbox, that was revealed today, and it just does make sense. It's the perfect move for that game. I know player numbers have dropped quite significantly for Fall Guys, so really the company do need to be pushing it to different platforms and enabling crossplay. I think it will have crossplay between all major platforms. I do wonder if it'll sell well on Switch. I think it might, because there's probably a lot of younger players on Switch who will want to play this who haven't been able to on PlayStation or PC. But really the immediate success of that game was because of PlayStation Plus. It was given away as part of a subscription service, and I just wonder if it can capture that same level of uptake if it's a full-priced game on Switch and Xbox. I really would have thought that Fall Guys would be a Game Pass game. Maybe it will be. Kind of should be, I think. I wonder if Devolver and Media Molecule will change their minds about that. Then we had Famicom Detective Club, The Missing Heir, and The Girl Who Stands Behind. Ooh, creepy. These looked pretty fun, very Phoenix Wright style detective visual novel murder mystery things. I've never played the originals, but what really captured me about these games is just the art style and also the animation style. You don't often see visual novels where the characters are fully animated like they are in this game, and just having that additional movement really brings these games to life. So yeah, based on just the visual style and the animations alone, I'm probably more interested in these games than I would have been if they were just traditional visual novels with static characters. That's such a weird and boring reason to want to play a game, but I'm sure they're very good. They seem to be held in high regard. A lot of people got excited about this reveal, so I will absolutely check those out. Also, since I played Paradise Killer, I am well horny for murder mystery games, so the more the merrier. Speaking of being horny for games, that's not a good segue. Speaking of games I'm very excited to play, Mario Golf Super Rush will probably be my favourite game of 2021. I really love golf games, especially Mario Golf. I don't know why I love golf games so much. There's just something really comforting about them. They just feel really calming and I guess methodical. Maybe that's why I really like them. There's a really nice pace to these games. You can just really take your time with them. There's not like a huge amount of pressure. Any pressure that's put on you is all self-inflicted. I love Everybody's Golf on the Vita. I love it on the PlayStation 4. I love Mario Golf on the 3DS. That game, I absolutely adore that game. Mario Golf was all I played for maybe about a year. I went traveling for a few months and yeah, every plane ride, every time I was stuck in an airport or waiting for a bus or a train to arrive. Basically, I wasn't appreciating these amazing locations I was in. I was just playing Mario Golf. What are you doing, cat? I guess Shari's here now. You're sitting on my knee, are you? I'm going to purr really loud so it picks up on the audio. You are, aren't you? Well, you're just there now, so that's fine. I loved the look of that speed golf multiplayer mode. That looks really fun. Everybody's Golf had something quite similar, but this looks a little bit more competitive, which I think will make a big difference. And there's a story mode. The story mode on the 3DS game was amazing. It took you through all the courses, it gave you a good incentive to keep playing. So yeah, really excited for that, and you get to play as your Mii. It's nice to see Miis make a bit of a return on the Switch. They've been absent for quite a while. Toad is wearing a golf outfit and has a hat. Toad wearing a hat is very strange to me, but I love to see it. Also, Bowser's fit is A+. Is that what the kids say? Fit? My only concern, and it's not really a concern, but I just hope there's some Mario themed courses. Most of the earlier games had courses that felt distinctly Mario. You know, they had pipes in the background and weird mushrooms and thwomps or whatever. But the 3DS one had a lot of Mario themed courses, and this one looked a little bit sterile. A little bit too realistic in some ways. If I wanted realistic courses, I would play PGA Tour, right? Or even Everybody's Golf, which is kind of realistic in a different way. One of my problems with the modern Mario sports games, are they developed by Camelot? I think they are, but whoever develops these games seems to gravitate a lot towards the more realistic side of things, and I just don't know if it works well in a Mario sports title. The prime example of this is the Mario Tennis game on the Wii U. I know the Switch one was a little bit better, but that was the first game really to start this trend of too realistic Mario sports games. But maybe we've just seen one course. Maybe there's ridiculous Mario Galaxy themed ones like there was on the 3DS later in the game. I guess we'll just find out. Either way, I'm very excited. It looks amazing, and it's out on the 25th of June. I can't wait for the summer so I can sit in the garden, get smashed on Pims and play a load of Mario Golf. Please don't play with wires while I'm recording. Please don't do that. Do you want to say hi to the camera? Say hi. Do you want to say hi? I'm holding you weirdly. Are you smelling my mouth? Why do you do that? Tales from the Borderlands is coming to Switch on the 24th of March, and I think it's out on every other platform now. Please play Tales from the Borderlands. It's not only the best Telltale game, it's also the best Borderlands game. You don't need to know Borderlands to enjoy it. You don't even need to like Telltale games to enjoy it. It's just immaculate. It really is. The pacing is incredible. It's so funny. Like, it's genuinely funny in a way that few games are. The characters are great. The soundtrack is A+. This game just rules. Please play it. It's absolutely fantastic. Then we have Stubbs the Zombie in Rebel Without a Pulse. Who the fuck wanted this on Switch? Stubbs the Zombie came out... When did it come out? I don't even know off the top of my head. 2004? It came out in 2005 for Xbox and was eventually released for PC. This game was not good at the time, I don't think. Let's have a look on Metacritic. 75, not too bad. Eurogamer gave it a 4 out of 10, saying average execution, terribly repetitive combat, lots of reasonable ideas that don't quite work, a general lack of cohesion. It's not diabolical, but it's far from great. Stubbs the Zombie is one of those curios that didn't really need to come back from the dead. There's a joke there that I've completely missed. I had a demo for this on PC. It was fine. It had about 20 minutes of gameplay on there, and that felt like enough. I felt like I got the gist. I'm just so baffled that some games like this come to the Switch. No one was asking for Stubbs the Zombie to be re-released on Switch. We're getting Stubbs the Zombie on Switch before we get Wind Waker. Can I just say that again, just so we can all hear it? We're getting Stubbs the Zombie on Switch before we get Wind Waker. Then we had No More Heroes 3. I've never played No More Heroes, but I do love the work of Suda51. I bought No More Heroes 1 and 2 on the Switch when they were released a few months ago, but that doesn't mean I've played them or have any intention of playing them anytime soon. This looked blurry, kinda not good, but maybe that was just a bad trailer, right? I loved how busy and ridiculous the UI was. I think it has a nice visual style, considering the alien enemies look substantially different from Travis, so I think that might work. It seems to be bringing back a lot of features that people loved from the first game, which I don't think made an appearance in the sequel. So if you're a fan of No More Heroes, please do let me know what you think of this trailer, because I'm fascinated to see what people think, and I've heard no one speak about it. People love this series, right? Why have I seen no one talk about it? I don't know. It looks varied and weird. It looks like classic Suda51 nonsense, and it's out on the 27th of August. I'm probably up for that. Maybe I should try and play No More Heroes before the 27th of August. I can't even kid myself. But speaking of Suda51, Neon White looks absolutely fantastic and is clearly inspired by the work of Suda. It's a first-person shooter deck building game. You seem to be jumping around a quite vertical location that's meant to be heaven, ? Honestly, that movement looks incredible. I guess it looked a little bit like Mirror's Edge meets Killer 7 meets Slay the Spire. Is this my perfect video game? I adore the character design, the music sounded amazing, the whole thing just looks incredible. I am extremely into the look of Neon White, and I can't wait for it to launch this winter. I want it now. I want it right now. I love it when a game takes influence from Suda51's early work, like Paradise Killer last year. That was very Suda51. This looks very Suda51. It's just such an intoxicating style. It just absolutely appeals to me so much. Animal Crossing is next, and you can wear a Mario outfit and go down a pipe, which is pretty cool. I think these items are pretty neat. I have not played Animal Crossing since last June. Maybe this will be the update that brings me back. Then we have Project Triangle Strategy. I hate that it's made me say that name out loud. It's an isometric game in the style of Octopath Traveler, which is another name that they should have changed. I don't know why they're saying this is a working title. It isn't a working title. You're going to call it Triangle Strategy. Don't kid yourself. I wanted to talk about this because it was a classic Nintendo Direct style trailer. It was way too long. It told you way too much information about the game. It had that like ridiculous thin after the trailer where it told you all about the game in such detail. It was like, this is what a tactics game is. And it's like, okay, don't put this in a direct. Why would you do this? Also, it had that bit where it's like, there's a war over salt and iron, so they called it the Salt Iron War. Okay, and it looks really nice. The trailer was really weird. At the end, it said a feedback survey is coming later. They specified in a Nintendo Direct that if you play the demo, you might get a survey afterwards for feedback. I mean, that's just classic Nintendo. Who cares? Who gives a shit? But yeah, looks good. If you're into that kind of thing, then good for you. I might play it. One thing I want to talk about, which kind of covers a couple of games that I wouldn't normally talk about, is EA had quite a big presence at this Direct. They've been kind of experimenting with bringing games to the Switch over the past year, and it really feels like they still don't know what relationship they want to have with the Switch. So the 3 games that EA are bringing to the Switch in the first half of 2021 are Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville. It's the 3rd 3D Plants vs. Zombies online multiplayer game that came out last year before. It made no impact whatsoever, so I guess they're probably bringing it to Switch to try and make money from it. I just don't think people want to play those games anymore. I don't think people want to buy online multiplayer games anymore, to be honest, especially not ones aimed at kids, because Fortnite's free. I don't think it'll sell well, I don't think people will play it, and I don't think it'll have a player base, which means that even people who do buy it won't get their money's worth. Weird game to bring to the Switch. Then there's Star Wars Hunters, which is a free-to-play game. Wait, is this even EA? I guess I just still think that Star Wars games belong to EA, but maybe it's not. Oh, it's by Zynga. Alright, so it's just a free-to-play game. Okay, ignore that. But the other game that EA are bringing to Switch is another presumably paid multiplayer game. It doesn't say whether or not it's free to play or not. Oh, it is free to play. Right, okay. So, Knockout City is a free-to-play game coming to the Switch and Xbox, PlayStation, PC. It's coming everywhere. It's going to have crossplay. The fact that it's free-to-play means that EA have learned a little bit since Plants vs. Zombies, and also that one they released last year that failed instantly. What was that called? Rocket Arena? The trailer for this was so confusing. It had like a Call of Duty guy and a Pixel Princess and a Warcraft-style orc all talking about how in Knockout City they could be the people they want to be. And that trailer was promoting a game where you play as disparate, generic video game characters fighting each other like a Smash Brothers style game. That's the game that trailer was advertising. But that's not what Knockout City is. It's just a dodgeball game. You can't play as these characters. Why would you use them in your marketing? It was baffling. It's one of the weirdest trailers I've ever seen for a game. Why would you do this? Who signed off on this? It showed so little information about the game itself, and honestly I think it might have done a disservice because Knockout City looks okay. A load of people had previews online as soon as the Direct ended, and as a game it looks pretty fun. You've got to eliminate people by throwing dodgeballs at them, but you can catch the dodgeball and throw it back at them, which in of itself is a really cool idea for a multiplayer game. Had big Splatoon vibes to it, and I'm kind of into it as a game, but that fucking trailer. So those are the only 2 games that EA are bringing to the Switch in the first 6 months. Both of them are online multiplayer games. I don't know what they're doing with the system. Just bring, I don't know, Dead Space, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, any of these huge games that people want to play. Bring them to the Switch? I don't know what EA are doing with the Switch. What are EA doing in general though? Who knows anymore? Next up we had World's End Club, which looked really, really interesting. It's developed by the people who did Danganronpa, which I've never played, but have always been interested in playing. I'm into this. I loved the art style. I loved how it had side-scrolling sections with bosses that looked really cool. I liked this bike at the end of the trailer. Ridiculous. I'm into that. It's out on the 28th of May. And then we moved on to Zelda news. Now please remember, it is Link's 35th anniversary this year, so expectations were pretty high for Nintendo to reveal, I think, a number of Zelda projects, we all wanted that Zelda 35th Collection bundle, right? With Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. That's not happening. I'm going to go ahead and say that straight away. That's not happening. They'll re-release Wind Waker and Twilight Princess at some point, probably this year, but they'll be full price. They're just not the same as the games included in the Mario 35th Anniversary Collection. That collection included 3 games that were basically straight ports of the original versions, slightly touched up to look a little bit better on a widescreen console. Wind Waker HD was completely rebuilt from the ground up, and Twilight Princess HD was released on the Wii U, so no one bought it, so Nintendo can sell it for £60 again. So even though that scenario is an eventuality, I still kind of thought they'd announce that in this. But they didn't. They didn't at all. Big fan of Enuma coming on the screen and immediately saying there is no Breath of the Wild 2 news. Personally, I think, yeah, cool. I think more companies should do this. It makes perfect sense why we haven't seen any more of it yet. It's still cooking. It'll come out eventually. Take as long as you need, Nintendo. I'm sure that game will be incredible, but it's just very Nintendo, right? For someone to come on screen and be like, I am so sorry. I do not have what you want today. And speaking of things nobody wants, Skyward Sword HD. That's a joke. Skyward Sword HD comes to the Switch on the 16th of July. I really like Skyward Sword. It does get a bit of a bad rap. Probably fairly, to be honest. It's not the best Zelda game. It's beloved, but it's not great. I mean, it's a Zelda game, so it's still better than most games, but in the ranking of good Zelda games, it's quite low down on that list. My surprise is that it's coming to the Switch at all. I mean, that game is so fundamentally built around motion controls. It really did feel like it was going to be chained to the Wiimote forever. It does make sense that you can play it with the Joy-Cons. God love you if you want to play it with the Joy-Cons, because you will be recalibrating that Joy-Con constantly if the original game is anything to go by. And I'm pretty sure the Joy-Cons just have the Wii Motion Plus tech in them, so you're gonna be recalibrating that pretty much all the time if you play it with motion controls. But mapping the sword to the right stick, I don't know how that's going to work. I hope it feels really good, and I can imagine it might feel pretty good, but personally I'm pretty excited to replay Skyward Sword. For my money, Skyward Sword has probably my favourite representation of Link and Zelda as characters out of every game in the series. There's just something so nice about their relationship in this game. It's really cute, it feels very genuine, it looks gorgeous too. They kind of rolled back on the darker, grittier Twilight Princess style and created a game that felt like it straddled both Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time. It's not as freeform as most Zelda games. The overworld is much more constrained than even something like Ocarina of Time. There's a lot of backtracking, you fight a lot of the bosses over and over and over again, but this is still a classic Zelda game. It has that classic 3D Zelda game formula where you go into dungeons and find an item, and then that lets you uncover different areas within that dungeon. Really, really liked them trying to pull in the Breath of the Wild crowd at the end of the presentation though, by saying, oh, if you liked Breath of the Wild, you'll love Skyward Sword. It has a stamina bar. All right, wow, well, I've always thought that Breath of the Wild was a direct reaction to Skyward Sword. Breath of the Wild was everything Skyward Sword wasn't. I always just assumed that Nintendo looked at Skyward Sword and said, we've done everything we can within this formula, this needs to change. And we got Breath of the Wild as a result of that. But no, apparently Skyward Sword was the first evolution of Breath of the Wild, so you better pay £60 for it, please. But this is good. I do like it when Nintendo bring over old games to new platforms. I will buy this, I will enjoy it. I will not buy those Joy-Cons. They looked bad. Huh, I've been recording for an hour. I had a lot more to say about this than I thought I did. And finally, the one last thing at the end of the presentation was Splatoon 3. I love Splatoon. I have since the Wii U. It's one of my favourite multiplayer games. There's just something so pure about these games that really, really appeals to me. I didn't think they'd ever make a third game, especially not on the Switch, because it really felt like they were just done with it after 2. It felt like it had a bit of a hard cutoff Like, they were just like, nope, we're done with Splatoon. You've had your Splatoon 2. No more content updates. Just have that. You got some single-player DLC as well. Enjoy it. We'll come back to that in 10, 15 years, or never, because we're Nintendo. But I'm really happy that we're getting a third one, even if it is about a year away. France has been destroyed. It's pretty weird. You have a little fish monster companion. There was a heavy-breathing fish that kind of made me uncomfortable. Part of me thought, and maybe hoped as well, that this was a single-player adventure game set within the Splatoon universe. But if it's just Splatoon 3, that's fine as well. I just hope it has a more substantial single-player mode at launch, because the single-player in these games is surprisingly great, and guess I'm just going to get obsessed with the multiplayer as well, because honestly, that multiplayer, it's so good. Right, that's it. I think I've talked way too long about a presentation that's now old news. This will go live on Sunday. The presentation was on Wednesday. It may as well be last year's news at this point, but still, I like giving my opinions in this format, and I hope you enjoyed listening to me rabbit on for God knows how long this video is going to be. What did you think of the Direct? Did you think it was good? Disappointing? What are you excited for in the first half of 2021? Please do let me know in the comments. Also, if you could like and subscribe, that does really help. I've been getting a lot of subs recently, so thank you very much for everyone who's been supporting the channel. It really does mean a hell of a lot to me. And I will see you next Sunday at 4 PM. Take care, I'll see you then.